Join us as we go into Big Bend for the first time, go swimming in hot springs, and fill up our tank for the last time before we go into Big Bend. While we were in Langtry, we trespassed while we tried to go into a canyon, and a very friendly local called Keith picked us up. He took us up the mountain and showed us this spectacular view of the Rio Grande. Dalian as always went off the path and he found this little cave and he wanted us to see it, so Billy followed him and he took some footage. This was his view. This was not for the faint-hearted. Keith showed us that you can go into this hole where a lot of people apparently went down, and then you can go into the canyon. None of us were brave enough to do it, so we put the camera down there.
And they walked to school and back along the river. That's how different it was. There was no growth, it was just desert. And they walked all the way through here, and then they walked up those stairs.
He told us about the sisters who walked all the way through the canyon where there was no debris, all the way up the mountain to school here in Langtry.
She lives in South Africa.
Oh, really?
She married a South African. He's quite funny. The first time I met him, he looked at my truck and he said, "I don't want to insult you, but in South Africa, Ford is..."
This was our view of the Pecos River High Bridge. It carries the Union Pacific Railroad across the Pecos River Gorge near the town of Comstock in Texas. This was our view of the Rio Grande Village campground that is near the Rio Grande with an elevation of 1,850 feet. The next town we drove into was Sunset at Marathon in Texas. We went stargazing and it was the most beautiful view of the stars we have ever seen. Marathon has a population of 275 people. This town was also a filming location for the movie Paris, Texas in 1984. It was directed by Wim Wenders. In 1985, Kevin Costner filmed Fandango and shot scenes here in Marathon. The town was founded in the late 1800s by a railroad surveyor. The town's history is tied to ranching and railroading, and it still has the remains of its early days. We went for a stroll in the Gage Gardens with its 27 acres of beautiful Texas flowers, butterflies and birds to see. We went shopping at the French grocer, did some laundry, and of course there's always that one missing sock. Cooking and making our own meals in the camper is becoming a norm. We went for a drink at the White Buffalo Bar. It's known as the legendary waterhole and features an extensive tequila selection. I had the margarita. We filled up our tanks for the last time before we went to Big Bend. Welcome to Big Bend. There's 1,252 square miles to explore. This makes it the 15th biggest national park in the United States. We set up camp, took a drive to the Rio Grande viewpoint, where local art was on display. They have honesty boxes available to put the money in when you buy the art. It's kind of like a self-checkout. So that's the Rio Grande, and that's a little like a kayak or something that you can go over. On that side is Mexico, and there's the town. I guess this is where all the artists are from. That is so cute. That's Billy. The first hike we went on was to the Boquelas Canyon. Texas has about 200 miles of hiking trails. This picture is a perfect example of why it's called the Golden Hour. Boquelas Canyon is the longest and the deepest canyon in Big Bend National Park. It has a round-trip distance of 1.5 miles. As some will know and some will still find out, we normally go off the beaten path. We were the last hikers on the trail for the evening. It was so quiet. You could only hear the river flowing and the grass blowing in the wind. Wild horses can be found roaming all over Big Bend. They are believed to be descendants of Spanish origins. The next morning we got up before sunrise and went to the healing waters. It's believed to be old fossil water. It's heated by a geothermal process and emerging to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The water has dissolved mineral salts, reputed to have healing powers. The hot springs has a rich history of human occupancy. These are some of the buildings that are still left behind. Up next, take a barefoot walk through the Rio Grande with us into Mexico. We take a donkey and a horse and we explore the town of Boquelas.